So the Bulls season preview for 2019. How are things looking in Bulls country? Well, it's a bit of a change up with the Bulls having lost their coach between seasons. John Mitchell's joined England. I know there were kind of mixed feelings about how that went down. Some people pretty keen to see the back of him, and to get the money they got from him was pretty good. It seems to have been well spent from what we will see with some of the additions to the squad. But for mine, I mean, I was optimistic for how the Bulls were going to go under him in 2019. I felt like they built things in 2018 which were kind of, foundations going forward. And yeah, we're not going to see anything kind of come to fruition, at least under John's guidance. If you are a Bulls fan, you kind of take heart from the fact that often when John Mitchell leaves a team, they sometimes go on the improve. So we'll see if that rings true here. So Porter Heman is the new coach of the Bulls, experienced guy. Got the job after Victor Matfield kind of pulled out of the running. He wasn't many people's, including the Bulls' first choice appointment, but he's got experience, which is what someone like Matfield doesn't have, at least in the top job. So we'll see if he can kind of put that experience to good use. How is the squad looking? Some changes. But we'll go with who's there first. So props, Basong, Gaboka, Mabokela, Montezima, Muxoli, Nyakane, Van der Westhuizen, Van Buren, and Van Feyck. Some of those names will be pretty familiar. The big omission there is Pierre Skuman, who left at the end of the season to join Edinburgh. So, I mean, from the guys last season who really got some minutes, it was Nyakane, Van Buren, Gaboka. I think were the main guys, maybe. Yeah, no, those were the main guys that I can remember off the top of my head. So we'll see if they rotate that around a bit. Someone's going to have to step up in the absence of Skuman. Hookers, you got Brits, Grobbelaar, Maratule, and Visaki. Big omission there is Adrian Strauss, who has retired, but the big addition there is Scott Brits. He is a one of the big name signings. He's getting on. He's closer to 40 than pretty much anybody else who's going to be playing Super Rugby this season. But yeah, as other people have pointed out, he's been brought along for what he can bring to the squad in a kind of greater maybe mentoring or coaching sense as much as for his playing. Although he still seems in pretty good shape from that Barbars game, so I guess we'll see. Visaki, expect him to get a fair few minutes, I would imagine. For the new props, Mabel Keller, I think, has come from the Curry Cup squad. I don't know much about him. Likewise, Van der Westhuizen. So those guys are new additions, being kind of brought up from the lower levels. Locks is where you're kind of blessed if you're a Bulls fan, because you've got De Jager, Jenkins, Sneeman, and Stassen. So you got three Springboks there who are pretty top class. Jenkins has kind of been a bit on the outer, but Sneeman and De Jager last season formed one of the best locking duos while De Jager was fit, and that is definitely a strength of that Bulls lineup. Loose forwards, Agaba, Bowley, De Jager, that's Nick De Jager, Dupria, which is Karel Dupria, who's on trial player, being brought up from the Curry Cup. I don't know much about him, so education please. Kirsten, Paul Skuman, who's come over from the Cheetahs, Roloff Smith, Steenkamp, Ace, who's come up from the 21s on the Western Cape, I believe, Van Staden, Liebenberg, and new faces, Jano Venter, Dwayne Vermeulen, and Theo Marais. So a few names who are less familiar, like that guy Marais or Marie, I'm not sure the pronunciation of that, please educate me in that field. That's M-A-R-E-E. Venter, these guys are from the Curry Cup. Ace is from the 21s, like I said. Dupria, Curry Cup. But then there's again some pretty talented players looking there. Vermeulen is a massive signing. I said in one of my other videos, when I heard he signed for the Bulls, I literally went grocery shopping in this shirt because I was pumped for the Bulls. So yeah, Vermeulen's a massive signing. Van Staden was class last year. Roloff Smith was everywhere. Kirsten got a few games. Yeah, man. Agaba didn't really get as much. Did he get injured? So he's still got a bit to prove as well. But there's some talent in that Bulls forward pack. So I'll get onto their predicted spot towards the end, but I'm impressed with that lineup thus far. Backs, scrum halves, Papier, Van Sale, and Warner. Fly halves, Boshoff, Libbok, and Pollard. Midfielders, Stedman Guns, who's from the Sevens. Jackson, Johnny Kotzer, Creel, Nauda, pronunciation. Odendahl and Sage from the Sevens. Outside backs, interestingly, Cornell Hendricks is with the Bulls after having health issues with his heart. He's apparently back and cleared to play, so we'll see if he's able to get himself back into a Springbok frame. Ishmael, Matthews, Speckman from the Sevens, Speckman, Stickling, Galant, and Rousseau. Again, I'm pretty happy with that. To be fair, Papier has been getting some Springbok time. Van Sale as well, less excitingly, but that's two Springbok nines, inexperienced, but still. You got Pollard, who's the Springbok 10. Boshoff, I think, is one of the most underrated 10s in World Rugby, so I'm pretty keen to see if he can actually get some game time. There was one game, I think, against the Lions last season where they played him at 10 and Pollard at 12 for the first half, and I thought it looked good. But that was just me. Midfielders, I mean, Kutzer played all over the shop last season in the backline, but Creel's probably going to be 13, Odendahl probably 12, and we'll see how these other guys kind of slot in. Some new names there. Outside backs, Ishmael, he's a very good player. I'm very keen to see Galant playing again. I know he's been injured for a wee while. He's one of my favourite fullbacks to watch, or winger whenever he's on the wing, but I like him at fullback. I think he can certainly do a job. Yeah, man. I mean, also the fact he got Libbok. The depth at 10 there is pretty phenomenal. He excited in the few matches that we saw him as well. He's going to get hard pressed for minutes behind Pollard, but I guess we'll see how things go. So, man, I'm pretty happy with that lineup and Herman as coach. Who's left? Like I said, Pierre Schoeman, Strauss is gone, retired. But a lot of the names, like Jumbo Olengo, he didn't really get many minutes last time. John Mitchell left. A lot of the names that left, like Francois Broma, these guys weren't getting all that many minutes last season. So, if anything, they seem to have trimmed a bit of the fat, minus perhaps Schoeman and Strauss, and added some guys in youth, plus a couple of very experienced guys. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited to see how the Bulls go. The bookies have got them as the 10th equal favourite with two other teams. But I look at that squad and feel like they could do better than that. So I guess time will tell if I'm giving them a bit much credit with a new coach and some settling in to do. But I feel like there's enough depth and enough young talent that these guys could perhaps do a job. Maybe a dark horse. I mean, God, they could finish last, but I like to think this team's got enough to at least push for a playoff spot, but I guess we will see. Their fixtures list, it's a decent one actually. Stormers at home, Jaguares away, and then Lions away, Sharks at home, and then a bye. So it's not ideal going to Argentina in week 2, but they got 4 games all against South African Conference opposition to start with, so that's a fairly decent early prospect. A bye in week 5 is kind of a good break. 4 games and a bye. 4 games is enough that you've seen how your team's going and enough to perhaps identify changes that need to be made, and then you've got a week off to work on that stuff. Chiefs at home, Sharks away, Jaguares at home, Reds at home, and Stormers away. So they don't leave South Africa for that stint, and then they got a bye in week 11. Again, I like the look of that. I think that's a manageable fixtures list. And then for the second half of the comp, it gets a little bit tougher. But you got the Waratahs at home, Crusaders at home. Then there's the tour: Rebels away, Brumbies away, Blues away, Highlanders away, and then back to South Africa to play the Lions at home in the last week. I look at that fixtures list and think, by the time they hit that second bye in week 11, the Bulls, if they've managed to put some results on the board that we know they can, could be in a decent position. It might just come down to winning some games on tour. but they don't start off on tour and have to, kind of like the Stormers last year from week 2, get on the road and perhaps fall behind everybody else. It seems a bit harder to catch up. But yeah, and you look at that tour fixtures list, Rebels away, not the pushovers they used to be, but it could be worse. Brumbies away, again, they finished the season decently. We'll see if they're able to improve this year, but then Blues away, that's the perfect team to get from the New Zealand Conference away. If you're going to beat anyone in New Zealand, it's probably going to be the Blues, despite the fact that I am a Blues fan. And then Highlanders away. Highlanders are traditionally very strong at home, but would you rather play the Highlanders, the Hurricanes, Chiefs, or Crusaders? Maybe the Highlanders. I don't know. There's no real good choice of those, and then the Lions back at home. So they could put themselves in a position to get something, and yeah, like I said, it might come down to just winning a game or two on tour. With that fixtures list, I believe, against the Rebels, Brumbies, or Blues, there's potential there to pick up a result. Last year's, like I said, final result was 12th, 6 wins and 10 losses. They did have some good results, like they beat the Hurricanes in week 1, but then they lost to the Sunwolves away. They don't play the Sunwolves this year, or the Hurricanes. So a bit of a... Everyone wants to play the Sunwolves because that's a good chance to get a easy win. The squad doesn't look as weak this year, so it might not be that case. They avoid a trip to Japan or Singapore, so I guess there's something in that. Hurricanes, despite the fact that the Bulls beat them last year, is probably still a pretty good team to be avoiding. So, yeah, questions for me. How's their new coach going to go? Are they going to be playing with a vastly different style, or is he just going to kind of build on that foundation that John Mitchell has set? It'll be an interesting one. How much impact can these big name signings of Vermeulen and Brits go? How much impact can they have? I'm hoping a large one, because they're large players, so they should be able to put in a bit of a bump into that Bulls team. Can they shore up their defence? As a big question, because the Bulls didn't have a problem scoring points last season. It was just they conceded far too many. They missed way too many tackles, conceded way too many points, conceded too many line breaks. It was that kind of stuff that let them down. And a bit of the consistency, like I said, lost to the Sunwolves and beat the Hurricanes. I think they pushed one of the New Zealand teams, and then they got beaten. I think they did the double over the Sharks last year from memory, so sometimes they were great, sometimes they were poor. It was a bit of a mixed bag. So, yeah, and getting a result on tour. They didn't get any last season. Tour didn't go well. That, like I said, I keep saying like I said, may really be a key factor in whether they make the playoffs or not. Might be giving them too much credit. Bookies say 10th, equal with 2 other teams, so that could be 10th, 11th, or 12th. Give them a bit more credit than that. Put Heman, see if he can bump these guys forward to something a bit better. As I said during the list of players, any insights on some of these guys who are coming through from the Curry Cup that you're excited to see, let me know there, because I am not all that familiar with all those new names. And yeah, you guys' thoughts on how you think the Bulls are going to go. Do you think, like me, they could potentially be a dark horse? Or do you think without a big name coach or a fantastically winning coach that they might struggle? You guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.